Jones Family, I don't know, what do you guys want to know? What do we?
Because, I mean, you guys have done like Rat Pack and other like,
Yeah.
Fictional stuff. This is documentary. Like, what made y'all switch?
Yeah, well, I guess to give a little bit of background, I'm the owner and a co-owner of a firm called Arts and Labor in Austin, and so we're a creative content company. Andrew is our head of production. Michael's the star of the Jones Family movie. But, I mean, we had 2 features and 2 shorts that were our movies out at Sundance last year, Rat Pack being one of them. But we also had No-No in the documentary category on Doc Ellis. I've had 2 documentaries nationally distributed by PBS, and my background is in journalism. We work with a lot of filmmakers. We have 5 features at South by this year. Entertainment, one of our co-pros, premiered at Sundance and is going to play the new director's new film series in New York, this week. So the whole thing about Arts and Labor is we want to work with a variety of artists who express themselves in a variety of ways. My way just happens to be documental. And I was attracted to this project because of Michael Corcoran. Michael and I have known each other for 20 years. Our kids are the same age, and I followed him when he was music critic for the Austin Chronicle. He worked for the Dallas Morning News, rock and roll guy, so he calls me and says he's intrigued with this gospel band. I'll let you sort of pick it up from there.
Yeah, this band, the Jones Family Singers, like Alan said, I've been a music critic for about 30, 40 years, something like that. And in your lifetime, there's only a few bands that you come across that you just go, oh my gosh, everybody needs to see this group. The problem is they're in the gospel field, which is not really, out there. It's not really that popular. It's hard to get people to see gospel music at all, just because people think they're going to get preached at. But this group, to me, they were like as soulful as James Brown. They rock as hard as the Allman Brothers. They just had everything, and so I did everything in my power for like 7 years to get people to come out and see the Jones Family. And it was really hard. Sometimes they would come all the way to Austin. They live in Houston, so they would drive 3 hours to Austin and play in front of 4 people at Antone's. And every time even if there was 4 people there, they would be really great. And so I booked them at South by Southwest. They put me in charge of the gospel showcase. And I booked them, and I just thought, well, I don't want them to come all the way from Houston or Bay City at the time and just play for no reason, just pay for $225, whatever the bands get at South by Southwest. I want to see if there's any way at all that I can attract someone here that's going to, record this, that's going to, at least let people know that they existed, that they were out there. And so I called Alan up because he had just made a documentary about South by Southwest called Outside Industry. And I was one of the talking heads in that movie. And so I knew him through that. And I said, Alan, do you have any students, do you have any people that work with you that are maybe trying to get a master's degree or something that want to come out and make a little 15-minute movie about about gospel music at South by Southwest? This will be a perfect thing. Because to me, it was sort of like, there's all that craziness. I don't know if you guys have ever been to South by Southwest, but it's absolutely insane downtown. And then to have this little oasis of gospel music, I thought it would make a really nice counterpart, a little documentary film. And Alan and his wife and partner, Kristen, they came to the show. I didn't realize they were going to be there. And they ended up, really loving the performance. And then they met the group, and they fell in love with the group. Because that's the other thing about the Jones Family Singers. If you get a chance to meet them, they are the most loving, genuine, uncompetitive. They just accept everybody. They love everybody. And that's what they do. They traffic in love. And I thought, well, if an audience could figure out, if they could feel the love of these people, then they'd have something successful. And I think Alan kind of got the same vibe when he met them that night. Yeah.
I was reading up a little about the documentary. It said that this was sort of an unlikely friendship between you and Bishop Fred Jones. I was wondering how that materialized and what exactly makes it an unlikely friendship, and what do you think that can teach to other people who are going to see the documentary?
Well, basically our bond, even though we're completely different people, our bond was vintage gospel music. I was the music critic for the Dallas Morning News in 1992 during the whole Garth Brooks craze. And then I was the pop music critic when Kurt Cobain died. It was one of my first days on that. So I've been through all that, country, pop, and I've covered rock and roll all this time. But I decided that what I really love more than any other kind of music is black gospel music. And so I started doing research into it. I started writing stories, and there was a group called the Soul Stirrers. Everybody knows Sam Cooke. They don't realize that Sam Cooke learned everything from this guy named Rebert Harris from Trinity, Texas. And so what I started doing was primary research. I would go to these small towns and find out about people that nobody else even cared about, gospel people. So then when I met the Jones Family Singers in 2005, I went right up to the bishop and said, you guys kind of remind me of the Staples Singers, but you got a little bit of the Soul Stirrers quartet thing happening. And I was mentioning all these groups, and he was going, what does this guy know about gospel music? And it turned out that really, in a way, even though he's been in the business for a long time, I probably knew more of the names than he did because I studied it, I researched it. And so that was the basis of our friendship at first, was just we'd get together and talk about gospel music. And I would tell them, you guys should really try doing that Chambers Brothers song, People Get Ready. And you go, well, send me a copy. And that was kind of the basis of our friendship at first. And what they would do is that at that time I was the music critic for the Austin American Statesman, and I would get these calls from the bishop going, we'd really like to play Austin. And then I really wanted to see them. That was my main motivation. So I'd get them a gig. I'd get them a gig at Antone's, Continental Club, whatever. I'd just call up people and get them a show. And so that's kind of how it worked out. So I was employed at the Statesman, and they started introducing me as, there's our manager, Michael Corcoran, and there'd be other critics there. I go, you can't call me your manager. You can't be a music critic and manage a group. Because I never took a penny from them. And all I ever cared, even with this movie, my whole thing is what's best for the Jones Family Singers. That was my whole mission. And it's kind of like, there's been a lot made of like, I'm an atheist or I'm a non-believer, and they're totally Christians, whatever. But really, the way they feel about God is the way I felt about the Jones Family Singers in a way. I wanted to be an evangelist. I wanted to go around and tell everybody, you've got to see this group. They're going to change your life. They're great. And so in that regard, we had that in common. We both know what it's like to try to get people to your way of thinking. And I think that's really our bond. I think they saw in me that I had the same passion for the music that they have. Well, not quite as much passion as they have, but as they have for God. But it was definitely, that's the thing that kind of bonded us. They figured, here's a guy that believes in something, and he's going to go. He doesn't care if people don't believe him or not. He's just going to keep saying the message over and over again. And that's kind of what brought us together, I think.
Michael referred to himself as the fanager,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to coin the phrase, but nowadays you can't, you think you come up with something and you go on the internet and someone has already used it. Somebody already used fanager. Not in the way that I used it, but so I can't really take credit for that one.
But you stole it. There's a long history of appropriating things in gospel music, too. So it was
great minds think alike.
Some of the aspects of the Jones family, they'll go and perform in front of 4 people if necessary. If they have to, they'll still go out and perform. And if you want to get their name out there, what do you think the film is going to succeed as far as that? Is it more getting to know the family? Because they actually seem like very, very nice people.
They're very nice people. They're not only nice people, but I was just at South by Southwest. I guarantee you they were the best band at South by Southwest this year. They're phenomenal. I mean, it's just like, it's like Janis Joplin times 10, or the spirit that they bring. It's like totally rock and roll. They could any rock band. They blow any rock band off the stage. But I'm sorry. What was your question about the?
Do you think getting to know the family better in the film and actually seeing how they live their day-to-day lives, because they have an outside job besides just being performers? Do you think it's going to draw more people to them?
I think once you know their story, then that's a draw. It's like if you see the movie, you're going to want to see them live. And if you see them live, you're going to want to see the movie. Because if you see them live, you're going to go, wow, where did this band come from? What's their story? And then the other way around is if you see them live, or if you see the movie, you're going to want to say, well, let's see how they can translate that live. I think they really do work hand in hand. And we're actually working on bringing the Jones family up to play a set during the film festival which you can't miss. You cannot miss that.
Yeah, we'll have the details on that. We're just we're actually talking to James, getting everything sort of squared away. But just as a side to when we went in initially, we thought, well, we'll shoot them playing at South by Southwest, give Michael just a 3-camera mix of this, and we were really attracted to him. And then it's like, well, we'll go down to, at that time they're living in Bay City. We'll go down to Bay City for a weekend, a bunch of us, and we'll do a short. And one thing leads to another, and we see something unfold over 3 years. And I think that it's tremendously powerful to me to see somebody like the bishop who is stuck to, in the Jones family, they've stuck to their way of doing things. They haven't jumped over into the secular realm or compromised what they believe in, and suddenly it began to pay off for them. And it was just, when we went up this summer and shot their first major concert in New York City, it literally made me tear up because I could remember when we first started shadowing them when they would play for these gigs and nobody was there. And now if you look on their website, this summer they're going to play the Newport Jazz Festival, the Monterey Jazz Festival. They're playing the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. Playboy Jazz Festival. They're going to Russia for 2 weeks. They're going to Germany, the Netherlands, Canada, and all this has happened in the last year. So you take movies like Searching for Sugar Man or something like that, fantastic documentaries, but they knew the story arc when they started. They knew where things ended. This was a case where we were fortunate enough to be with them and actually experience with them some of their dreams coming true. And that's what I hope we're conveying. They didn't sell 1 million albums, but they have critical validation of what they're doing.